Join Sarah Weiss in the infinite field of energetic aliveness and heart-centered wisdom. This is the Earth, Love, Spirit podcast.
Hi, this is Sarah Weiss, your host for the Earth, Love, Spirit podcast. So happy to connect with you today. We have just had the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, and now we're leading right into the solstice. So this is a very powerful time. We're going through lots of changes. And given all the changes we've already gone through, I thought it might be helpful to have some meditations and some guidance on how to work with these changes, because these are not little changes. We have decided to manifest during a period of time when we are going through physical changes, mental, emotional shifts, a complete change of paradigm. I mean, everything that we are used to is now different. Everything you thought you knew, everything you thought you could count on is now different. And so what was from the old paradigm doesn't apply to the new paradigm. We have to learn a new language, a new way of working with energy, a new way of viewing ourselves. And the beauty of the new paradigm is that it's moving towards more light, more enlightenment, release of the self-loathing, the criticism, the striving, and the working. And we are entering a period of grace and ease, but it's going to take us a little bit of time to get there. So as we head into the solstice that's coming in a week, I would like to offer you a few ideas, a few ways of being that will help you find some peace during this time. It's very confusing right now. And so if we can find moments of peace where our body actually gets to relax, where we can find some inner happiness, where we can be at peace with ourselves and clear a space for our whole being to come back and integrate so it's not split off. That's a real gift to yourself. And I mention this idea of being split off because that's one of the themes today. We have been in a period of a few thousand years where the mind has been predominant. And in a way, imagine yourself as an explorer, and the mind wanted to find out what it's capable of, how far it can expand, what its use is, what it's best used for. The mind wanted to find out all about itself. And in that process, it dissociated and differentiated itself from the wholeness of your being. And so instead of attending to yourself as an integrated being with mind, body, and spirit, we all came to believe that our mind was ourself. And now we're finding out that the mind has incredible capacities and is useful for many different things, but it has a limitation. And I'm talking about the conditioned mind. I'm talking about the mind that we believe is centered in the brain. I'm not speaking to the greater mind, the mind of the creator, the mind of the totality. And so we've been living in this mind that has almost become a vigilante, running our lives and stealing from us our peace, our wholeness, our health and well-being. And so now as we move into this new paradigm, the mind is going to have a chance to come back home. It's almost like it's just gone so far And the mind realizes it needs to come back home. The mind realizes it needs to be integrated with the totality of being, to be rooted in this totality so that its fullness can be expressed. So there's a message coming from this new paradigm that says the more integrated we are, the more we will blossom and fulfill ourselves. And a new type of intelligence is going to arise, and we won't identify ourselves as the mind anymore, but we will identify as a wholeness and an intelligence that arises out of this wholeness. So that's why I say it's an entirely new language. It's an entirely new way of being with yourself. And it's a beautiful way of being with yourself, because when you feel integrated, you feel coherent. You feel like you're in the flow and glow of your being. And we know what that feels like. It's a real beautiful feeling of alignment, of confidence, of knowing that you're part of something greater. And yet you also are the expression of that great totality. So let's take a moment to settle back into ourselves. And as you're listening to this, you can listen and be with yourself at the same time. You can listen and feel your body, feel your breath, feel your feet, sense your legs, sense your hips, sense your torso, your shoulders, your neck, your head, and allow yourself to come back to the totality of you. And the totality of you includes your energy field. It includes sensing and thinking and feeling. And you come back into the sphere of your being. You're not just the mind any longer. The mind is fairly linear. And so we're shifting from a linear perspective to a spherical perspective. And that within a sphere, all can exist. Every geometric shape exists within a sphere. Every dimension exists within a sphere. The sphere is a primal shape that takes us into so many different dimensions when we align with the sense of the sphere. Now, today we want to focus on the idea of clarity. And in many of the spiritual teachings, you'll hear the idea of the big sky or the endless, infinite being, and the transparency of being, and a clear, vibrant energy field, and clear flow, clear glow. Everything takes on that brilliant type of clarity that feels so aligned and so comfortable. When we feel clarity, we feel at peace. We feel like we understand something, and clarity is something we seek all the time when we're interacting with other people, when we're at our jobs, our families. There is a background urge to find clarity. And so in the spiritual world and in the spiritual teachings, clarity is a state of consciousness. And it comes about from the integration of body, mind, and spirit. When our totality of being is flowing and glowing, we become totally transparent, like the purest glass, cleanest glass you've ever seen, that you don't even know it's there between you and what you're seeing. And transparency doesn't mean emptiness. Transparency and clearness mean the most pure, vibrant, aligned energies that could possibly exist. It means everything is in such perfect coherence that there isn't a blip on the screen. It is a very deep spiritual state. And maybe you've experienced it when you've sat in a meditation and really allowed yourself to relax into and clear your being so deeply that everything feels crystal clear. Your body feels crystal clear, your emotions feel crystal clear, and your mind is crystal clear. And so in this state of clarity, it is a fullness, not an emptiness. And in this fullness, everything exists. Your wellness exists. The answers to your questions exist as insight in the totality of all wisdom. The ecstasy that your emotions can attain exists in this clarity. And your body gets a chance to raise its vibration, its frequency, to a state that actually allows fluidity to exist in the physical state. We usually think of the physical state as a constant that doesn't change. We do imagine that there is this circulation going on, this pumping of the heart, and all this metabolic chemistry happening in the body, but we're usually not in touch with that. We're not in touch with just how much activity and growth and death is going on in the body. And so when the body has a chance to be integrated with the mind and spirit and emotions in a way that is so clear, it allows the body to operate at peak functioning, which means it gets to clear out the toxins, it gets to air out the cells and oxygenate the cells, and the fascia gets to release so there's no pressure on the organs and tissues. And it's a state of dynamic relaxation where a restorative process goes on. But it's not only restorative, it is progressive, it is evolutionary. It allows the mind and energy field to communicate, and the body and the energy field to communicate in a way that lets the body learn new patterns, grow in new directions, and who knows, given how much we know that mind and body affect each other, as we change into this new paradigm, we really don't know, can't quite know yet, how our bodies are going to evolve with the new energies they're receiving. So I'd like you to shift into a state where you actually open up to the idea that your body could be evolving and changing shape and activity, interactivity, and even what the organs are doing. I mean, maybe there have been some organs that haven't even come online yet that will start to function. You know, we talk about the appendix or just finding out that the appendix do have a part to play in our body, and maybe there are other aspects of the body that we have not discovered yet. This also means that our sensory organs are going to start to expand, and because of the new frequencies coming in that activate the sensory organs, they're going to operate at multi-dimensional levels where they haven't been able to do that before without a lot of practice and skill development. So with these new frequencies coming in from the center of the galaxy, we are going to have our sensory organs wake up. All of a sudden, you may find yourself lucid dreaming, seeing energy fields, becoming more empathic and understanding what's going on telepathically with other beings. You might find yourself communicating with beings from other dimensions, from other galaxies and solar systems. And as these sensory organs wake up, you're going to be introduced to an entirely new world, an entirely new Earth. And that's why they've been using the phrase a new Earth, because Earth is not going to be looking to us like it has been. If you ever see pictures of what a bee sees, they don't see a flower with the same colors and patterns that we see. Their eyes see different colors, they see different patterns in the flower, and they're all directed towards helping the bee get the nectar that they need. And so our perception as human beings has the capability of becoming so dynamically expanded. And with our mind being integrated with the body and spirit, we start to take on a whole new identity of being. And I want you to feel that now. It's like you're a pulsing intelligence that spans a variety of dimensions with a central axis that spins as if you're a heavenly body, just like the Earth or the other planets or the sun, spinning on your axis, aligned with the flowing dynamics of the galaxy, and your intelligence arises out of your wholeness and not out of a mind. Now that intelligence, in its clear state, will naturally operate. Your mind is going to want to peek in here and try to make things happen, but we're going to invite it to settle back and relax now and sense the clarity around you that is occurring as we've been connecting together here. And maybe you can feel the light arising within your being. Some more glow and flow starting to happen. Some of the sludge and denser energies starting to perk up. And you may feel the energy running through your hands, your feet, the root chakra, the crown chakra, and sense yourself as a sphere and as a dynamic body within that sphere, aligned along your axis. And as all this activity is going on, your cells, your metabolism is shifting, being freed up to do what they do best. Your fascia is being fed the energy that it needs to restore balance in the body. Your emotions rise to a new frequency where they understand that they're centered within you and that each being is centered along their axis, their own heavenly body, and each being is flowing in tune with the music of the spheres. This leads us to a point where we take our emotions less personally, that we know where to bring the emotions back to become realigned. So just like the mind, the emotions have to come back to the totality of you to rebalance. And you may be starting to feel a sense of lightness in your sphere of being, as if you resonate with the sun, with light, with frequency. And don't stop this now. Let the resonance take over. And rest in this for a moment. And there's a certain delight that comes with light. Just like when you sit out on the beach and enjoy the sun pouring down upon you. Your being delights in its own lightness. And allow yourself to rest in the frequencies that the light brings to you. Let it transform your emotions. Allow it to clear the mind. And allow yourself to decompress and expand into a spacious sphere. You may expand all the way out into the entire Milky Way. There's no limit to your expansion. And I want you to notice that there is an intelligence. It's a vibrational intelligence. You may not know the words yet. You may not know the language of this intelligence yet. But you can feel it. And you can allow it to speak to you in a living language of vibration. So don't let the mind take over. Don't try to make words. Allow yourself to rest in the sea of vibration. Now, when we have these solstice and eclipse occurrences, their biggest impact is on our frequency and vibration. And so a cosmic event occurs between earth and heaven, and we are participating in a sea of vibration that's creating a new wave, inserting a new wave into that sea of vibration. And there's information and messages that come through as waveforms. And we can sense how there's a shift in us, but we don't know yet how that's going to look. And we need to get used to this unknowing, not knowing, and come from the place of vibration, energy first, and allow the greater intelligence to bring clarity to our being, understanding, instead of relying on the mind to try to figure everything out. The mind is ready for a rest. The mind has gotten the message from all the shifts we've gone through in the last year, cosmically, that it's time to come home. It's like the prodigal son returning home. It's rejoining its original center, and it is gladly coming home. I'm sure each one of you have a sense or an image of the mind redocking, reintegrating with the wholeness of your being. And this is the primary message of the solstice coming up next week, where the portal opens, the doorway opens for all humans to reintegrate the dissociated mind into the wholeness of being. And then experience being introduced to the new you, fresh out of this portal, with a new intelligence awakening, a new clarity of being, access to the fullness and expansiveness of many dimensions, because once you come into a resonant, coherent state, you can slip into these dimensions And once you're using this wholeness intelligence, that intelligence knows how to relate to these different dimensions, knows how to come into coherence and resonance and vibration with the different dimensions in a way that doesn't disrupt your being or create blips of misunderstanding and confusion. There's this flow and glow, the smoothness of being in the flow that gives you the sense of center and the sense of being able to communicate on many dimensions with this new intelligence arising in our being. So let's sit in this moment of peace and clarity. And by clarity, I mean the mind is not trying to do anything. And if you can get used to that, if you can allow that to happen, you will naturally fall into a deeper state. And this light and clarity arises. And in many traditions, the true being has been identified as a diamond, a crystal, a prism. It's a clear geometric form that when light passes through it, it creates rainbow of colors, the facets of individuality. And as we move through this solstice time, the visualization and image of a prism that is lit from the light of your heart, the light of your integrated being, radiating rainbows in all directions throughout your sphere, shimmering in iridescent light. Holding the beauty of the multifaceted colors and the pure clarity of the original prism. See, the mind can't hold that idea, but your new intelligence can, because there's no polarity there. It's pure knowing, pure intelligence, pure clarity. So I wish you a beautiful transformation through the upcoming solstice, a realization of the beauty of your being, and the gift and grace of clarity to create peace and coherence within you. Thank you for connecting with me today. I cherish each one of you that is listening and wish for you to know the beauty and love of your being. Blessings to all.
Thanks for listening to the Earth Love Spirit podcast. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend. And be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.